Peptides, what the heck are they? If you spend any time online, peptides start to sound like some secret anti-aging miracle. Better sleep, more muscle, better skin, fat loss, greater energy, and possibly even contributing to greater longevity. So anytime something gets talked about like that, especially in the health and longevity space, my radar goes up just a bit because some of this is real, some of it is promising, and some of it is probably getting way ahead of the evidence. So today I want to answer the question that I'm hearing the most, which is, what are peptides exactly? And why are so many people talking about them right now? And if you're over 50, is this something you should actually be paying attention to as someone who wants to age well, stay strong, and make better health decisions? So first, what is a peptide? Well, a peptide is basically a short chain of amino acids, and amino acids are the building blocks of protein. So you can think about it like this. If amino acids are individual letters in the alphabet, then peptides are short words or sentences, and proteins are longer paragraphs. Now, that's not a perfect science analogy, but hopefully it helps paint the picture. Your body already makes peptides, so they're not some weird foreign concept. Insulin is a peptide-based hormone. GLP-1 is a peptide hormone. Oxytocin is a peptide. Vasopressin is a peptide. There are peptides involved in hunger, blood sugar regulation, inflammation, immune functioning, wound healing, and communication between cells. So when people talk about peptides, they're not talking about one single thing. And that's a big part of the confusion, because saying peptides is sort of like saying medicine. Which one? For what purpose? At what dose? From what source? And what's the evidence? And that's where the conversation needs to get more refined. Now, one of the reasons peptides are getting so much attention right now is because of the GLP-1 medications. Drugs like semaglutide and tirzepatide have changed the way a lot of people think about obesity, diabetes, appetite control, and metabolic health. And those drugs are peptide-based therapies. Now, that doesn't mean that every peptide being promoted online is proven, but it does explain why the category has exploded and the increased conversation. The research papers that I looked at make this pretty clear. Peptides are becoming a major part of modern medicine. One review stated there are more than 80 peptide-based drugs approved for clinical use, and many more in both clinical and preclinical development. So this is not fringe medicine. That's mainstream pharmaceutical development. But here's the part I think gets left out of the social media picture. Peptides are also difficult to work with. And that matters because peptides are fragile. Your body is designed to break down both proteins and peptides. That's literally what digestion does. If you swallow a peptide, your stomach acid and digestive enzymes may chop it up before it ever gets where it's intended to go. And that's one of the reasons many peptide medications are injections. Not because doctors just love needles, but because getting these molecules through the gut, through the skin, across certain barriers in the body is difficult. One of the papers talked about this in detail. Peptides and proteins can be broken down by enzymes, cleared quickly from the bloodstream, and have trouble crossing certain membranes. And that's why delivery is such a huge part of peptide science. It's not just, does this molecule do something in the lab? The better question is, can we get it into the human body safely? Can we get it to the right place? Can it last long enough to matter? And can we do it without causing problems or harm? That's the gap between an interesting molecule and a real medication. Now, this is where the GLP-1 story is a great example. Natural GLP-1 in your body doesn't last very long. One of the papers notes that native GLP-1 has a plasma half-life of less than 2 minutes. That means your body breaks it down very quickly. So scientists have to modify these drugs to make them last longer. And that's why some of the modern GLP-1 medications can be taken weekly. And that didn't happen by accident. It took engineering. So when somebody online says, this peptide does X, Y, and Z, the next question should be, in what form? At what dose? Given how? Studied in whom? And compared to what? Because peptides can sound almost magical, especially when the talk is only about what they might do. But medicine lives in the details. So for my 50+ age audience, why should we care? And I think there are three main reasons. And the first is metabolic health. Many people over the age of 50 are dealing with some combination of weight gain, insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, fatty liver, high blood pressure, or increased visceral fat. And some of the most important peptide-based therapies right now are targeting those exact issues. Again, GLP-1 medications are the obvious example, but that doesn't mean everyone should be on them. But it does mean that peptides are already changing metabolic medicine. The second reason we should care is muscle and aging. As we get older, we become more concerned about losing muscle, losing strength, and recovering more slowly, and becoming more frail. And that's why some people are interested in peptides related to growth hormone pathways, tissue repair, and recovery. But this is where I would also be cautious, because interest isn't the same as proof. Some peptides being discussed in wellness clinics may have early research, animal data, or limited human data, but that's not the same as having strong long-term safety evidence and real-world proof of benefit. And when you're over 50, that matters more, not less, because many people are already taking blood pressure medications, cholesterol and diabetes meds, blood thinners, hormone therapy, and other treatments. So adding injectable compounds from a clinic or an online source is not something I'd treat casually. The third reason to pay attention is cancer, immune disease, precision medicine, and this is probably less exciting for influencers, but it may be one of the most important areas scientifically. Peptides are being studied and used in areas like cancer targeting, imaging, immune modulation, infections, and personalized vaccines. That doesn't mean we'll all be taking anti-aging peptide stacks next year, but it does mean peptides are part of the future of medicine. And I think that's a key distinction. Peptides are not nonsense, but peptide hype can be. There's a difference. Insulin is real. GLP-1 medications are real. Certain drugs for cancer, immune disease, infections, and rare conditions are real. But that doesn't automatically validate every peptide being sold for fat loss, sleep, libido, wrinkles, or longevity, especially if it's coming from a place making big promises with very little long-term data. Now, another issue is quality, and this is a big one. The papers discussed how peptide manufacturing requires careful quality control. Small changes in structure, impurities, degradation, or formulation can all affect safety and effectiveness. Now, that may sound boring, but it's not if you're the person injecting it into your body. A peptide isn't just a simple vitamin capsule. These molecules can be delicate, require proper storage, they may degrade, they may need specific manufacturing standards. So I would be very careful about buying peptides from questionable online sources, especially if they're labeled in a way that avoids medical accountability and without being prescribed for a clear medical reason. Now, I know some people might say, but hey doc, my clinic offers peptides. And I'm not saying every clinic is bad. I'm not saying every peptide is unsafe. I am saying questions matter. What peptide? What diagnosis? What is the source? Is it adequately studied and approved for that use? Is it compounded? Is it being used off-label? And what happens if something goes wrong? Those aren't negative questions. Those are adult questions. And after 50, I think those questions become even more important, because this is a stage of life where we want to be strong, clear-headed, active, and independent. And we don't need to chase every new shiny object, but we also don't want to ignore real advances in medicine. So here's where I land on peptides. I put them in 3 buckets. And bucket number 1, proven peptide-based medicine. That includes things like insulin, certain GLP-1 medications, along with approved therapies for certain diseases. That's real medicine. Bucket number 2, promising peptide research. This includes areas like cancer, immune therapy, antimicrobial peptides, improved drug delivery, and maybe certain repair or regenerative pathways. That's exciting, but still developing. And bucket number 3 is peptide marketing. That's where you'll hear broad claims about anti-aging, fat loss, energy, recovery, sleep, and longevity, often without the kind of evidence that I would want before recommending it to a broad 50-plus audience. And that's where I'd be careful. Now, one more thing. I don't want this video to sound like I'm against innovation, because I'm not. I actually think peptides are fascinating, and modern technology is making them easier to design, modify, and deliver. Artificial intelligence, better synthesis, nanoparticle delivery, chemical modifications, all of this is pushing the field forward. But again, better technology doesn't remove the need for evidence, especially in real humans trying to stay strong and healthy as we age. Peptides are real, they're here, they're already a part of modern medicine. But the foundation of aging well is still pretty basic at its core. Build muscle, maintain your strength, protect your metabolism, keep your blood pressure controlled, prioritize sleep, move daily, eat enough protein, and don't smoke. If you didn't catch this last video about keto after 50, you can watch it next. As always, thanks so much for watching, and please share this video with someone you feel would benefit from watching it as well. Stay strong, stay positive, and I will see you in the next video.